Because pasta is the product of wheat processing and wine comes from grapes, oil is the result of olive processing. And all of this happens inside one place, the oil mill. In the next few episodes, I'll take you inside the mill step by step, explaining how it is built and how each component works. Hi, and welcome back to Olive Oil Drops, the first podcast entirely dedicated to olive oil and olives. This podcast is created by Marco Antonucci. This is an English version. I'm Milena. Now let's set the scene. After pruning and fertilizing in the spring, after flowering and olive formation, and after pest control in summer and autumn, the olives finally ripen. Harvest time arrives, as we discussed back in podcast 74. But remember, everything would be pointless without this final step, transforming the olives into oil. This transformation happens here, inside the oil mill. In this first episode, I'll focus on the premises themselves, the spaces that house all the equipment. I'll explain how they should be designed to meet regulations and at the same time guarantee that they're clean, efficient, safe, accessible, easy to control, enable smooth processing and proper maintenance. So what do you need to do if you want to open an oil mill in Italy? The truth is there isn't one single clear regulation. That's why the very first step is consulting the local authorities such as the Chamber of Commerce, the municipality, the local health authority and the province. These offices will tell you which authorizations you need and in what order. Associations in the sector can also be very helpful. They'll guide you through what can feel like a jungle of permits. Now, let's leave the paperwork aside and focus on building itself. The first formal step is to submit an application to the municipality where the oil mill will be built. That application must include a detailed project covering all aspects of the activity. It's best to have a specialist prepare this project. The municipality will then evaluate the request based on its own technical regulations, which vary from place to place. They'll check compliance with urban planning standards, traffic impact, waste disposal methods, and of course the suitability of the location. When choosing a site, there are several factors to consider: the availability of olives, a reliable water supply, an adequate road network, easy access for suppliers and customers, and very important, the possibility of maintenance, being close to compatible activities, and even allowing for future expansion. How do you actually design a local oil mill? Like any factory, by identifying flaws and production phases. Each mill has its own reality, its own location, surroundings, and constraints. So the advice I'm giving here is meant as a reflection. It's a reminder that an oil mill is more than just an empty room with some machines inside. In the coming episodes, I'll go into detail on each phase and each piece of equipment. But for now, let's walk through the main areas of the premises. Arrival area for customers and suppliers. Now, this is the showcase of the mill. Visitors must have enough space to park and maneuver vans, tractors and trucks that bring in olives or take away finished products. A well-organized reception area allows everyone to move calmly and safely, yet, especially in small businesses or converted buildings, it's common to see cars lined up along the road or parked in unsafe places simply because there's no proper space. Sometimes if one van needs to reverse, every other vehicle has to be moved first. The paving here matters. A dirt surface in autumn rain is not enough. Instead, use interlocking drainage blocks, industrial concrete or asphalt, and just a few painted lines marking parking spaces and traffic lanes can prevent unnecessary arguments. Once olives arrive, the first step is recording information to guarantee traceability. That includes not only the olives themselves, but also containers, labels, control bodies, and disposal agents. Everything must be documented. In modern operations. Nothing and no one should enter without proper tracking. The reception area should have a clear unloading and storage space. Here, batches of olives are weighed, registered and sampled to verify their health and conformity. From that moment, the olives are under responsibility of the mill. They must always be kept under cover, protected from rain. The best storage method is heavy-duty perforated plastic bins. This allows easy handling, good ventilation, and less damage to the olives. What must never happen is piling olives directly on the ground. Next comes defoliation and washing in a designated and isolated area. This is the last stage visible to the supplier, and it's where dust, leaves, mud, dirty water, and washing residues appear. That's why this area must be separated from the rest of the machinery. Beyond the loading hopper, only authorized personnel should have access, and the space should be sealed off from the outside. Any areas open to the public must not be located below the first basement level. They must also have exits leading directly outside. This is also where you often find changing rooms and bathrooms. Their size depends on the surface area, number of operators. Walls and floors must have suitable coverings, and doors must be non-combustible and fitted with self-closing devices. Now we come from milling to filtering. This processing area is at the heart of the mill. Access must be restricted to operators only, and the space must be completely separate from other rooms to avoid contamination. The floor should be non-slip, easily washable, resistant to oil, abrasion, caustic soda, and the acids needed for cleaning. Porcelain stoneware with epoxy grout is a valid choice. Walls should be covered with washable material, at least up to 2 meters, such as tiles. Drainage is crucial. The floor should have large mesh grates. Avoid slotted or well grates because all residues will quickly clog them. Do not run pipes or cables under the floor. They can't be inspected and they become useless if machines are moved. Lightning must be strong. 50 lux at the edge of the machines is a good average. Use recessed lamps rather than suspended ones because suspending fixtures collect dirt. Windows should be bottom hung, ideally facing north, and located high up on the walls to prevent glare. Air exchange is also essential. Oil is present everywhere in the form of aerosol. And because it's heavy, it sinks. Avoid mechanical extractors, which can make the problem worse. Instead, bring fresh air in from outside and let stale air out through slits at the bottom. Noise is another challenge. Since encapsulating the machines isn't usually possible, ceilings should be pitched or angular, never vaulted. If vaulted ceilings exist, close them with plasterboard. Reverberation can be reduced with sound-absorbing panels on the walls or suspended in geometric shapes, but make sure they're easy to clean. Machines should stand with 2 to 3 meters away from walls with vertical sound absorbing screens between them when possible. And remember, all machines and pipes should be anchored with elastic vibration damping systems. Now let's move to storage and packaging. All storage rooms must be well ventilated to prevent mold and well lit if the containers are steel. If the oil is transparent tanks or bottles, lightening should be below 200 lux. Temperature control is critical. The room must stay between 14 and 18 degrees Celsius. Ideally, these rooms face north and are well insulated. Floors must withstand the weight of wheeled items, be waterproof, easy to wash, and equipped with drainage in the center of the traffic lanes. For rooms storing more than 6,000 liters of oil, structures must be non-combustible with a resistance of at least 60 REI. If the surface area exceeds 1,000 square meters, the space must be compartmentalized. Storage for olive pits or other combustible materials must be outside under non-combustible shelters and positioned so a fire cannot spread into the mill. Packaging materials like cardboard, pallets, and plastic tanks must be kept in special fireproof rooms. If an inerting system is used, the cylinders of inert gas must be kept outside the storage room in a safe position. Main electrical panels must be clearly marked and easily accessible. If that's not possible, there must be a remote release control. And finally, the layout must allow fire engines to reach the storage area in case of emergency. This is the overview how to design the premises of an oil mill. In the next episodes, we'll dive deeper into each processing phase and individual machines involved. If you have questions, you can ask us either by email oliveoildrops@gmail.com, website www.oliveoildrops.com, where you can also find text of this podcast both in Italian and English, or a comment space of the podcast platform you have been using and to which you can subscribe free of charge. Thank you for listening.